Hello, welcome back. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We are going to be reading chapter 14, I believe it is, in A Guide for Lightworkers by Archangel Michael, also written and channeled by Saratoga Ocean. And as a reminder, we will do our best just to take a moment to center ourselves, set our intention to take this information in with our beautiful hearts of pure divine love, as that is the way the book was intended to be communicated to us, as stated by the author and by Archangel Michael. So let's go ahead and get started on chapter 14, the angelic kingdom. So Archangel Michael is going to talk to us about angels, which I don't know about you, but I personally love to learn all that I can about the angels and communicate with them. They're always and ever waiting for us to ask for their assistance. So let's see what he has to tell us. There is a great deal of misconception about the subject of angels. Some of what I'm about to say might seem confronting if you were wholly determined to hang on to the limitation of your current beliefs. But to some of you, it will cause you to rejoice enormously in the knowledge that things are not as limited as you may have previously thought. Why do angels have wings? That is indeed the first question that we must address, because that perception is many thousands of years old. It is not that it is wrong, it is just that it limits your overall connection to the angelic realm, because it is a perception that tends to displace you in time and space from a realm of exceedingly dear friends. First of all, it is important to understand that your mind is an interpreter. We are talking now about an aspect of the mind that is relatively neutral. This is not the part of the mind that interprets your earth-based experience. This is the part of the mind that is deeply connected to the spectrum of energetic reality within which you reside in the universe. If you will recall for a moment the story of Adam and Eve that we discussed earlier, you will remember the part where they ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You will remember how we stated that this was in reality the fruit of the first original lie called, I am not omnipresence, I am not infinite. This therefore produced a new set of physics that existed as a product of the illusion that they were now living in. This, in terms of creation, is what put them in the world of the finite. Angels do not live in the finite universe, but they are capable of reaching through the veil of illusion in order to help those who find themselves on the other side of that veil. It should also be known here that the so-called afterlife exists on the same side of the veil that you do. Now, I know that it is not common knowledge because people on earth tend to believe that the afterlife is where God really exists. Might I remind you that God exists everywhere. There is no place where God is not. This is where people tend to get themselves very confused. But what about where there is evil? Surely, Archangel Michael, you can't be saying that God exists here. Indeed, I would say you're right. And that is precisely why it is abundantly clear, if you care to look, that evil is an illusion. It is precisely why there can be no such thing. But what about the fact that we actually experience it? Of course you experience it, I would say, but that doesn't mean that that experience is real. And yes, dearest friends, I know that this experience feels so real that it exists as the most virtual of all virtual realities known to humankind. Even your physical body exists as a virtual reality if you want to get technical about it. Why do you think it is capable of experiencing pain? Pain is simply not possible where God is. And once again, I remind you that God is indeed everywhere. Dare I say that pain is just another illusion? Now here is where people can get a little bit crazy and start to defend their illusion. Let me tell you a little bit about your dearest friend, Yeshua. Some of you refer to him as Jesus the Christ. Jesus was known to have performed many miracles in healing, correct? First, let us define a miracle. A miracle is any place where God shows up in your experience, which is completely out of the flow of where this finite illusion is going at any given time. For example, if you have sustained an exceedingly painful injury to your leg, the normal trajectory of that illusion is for the pain to worsen until some finite remedy is applied, which hopefully supports the body in going through its normal healing process in time and space. A miracle would occur if an experience of God, and therefore reality, suddenly appeared at some point in that finite trajectory. That experience is akin to a light turned on in the darkness. And that experience literally exposes the fact, experientially, that pain and damage to the body are an illusion that doesn't really exist. And thus the miracle occurs. The body is suddenly whole again, and the injury disappears like the mirage that it actually is. Miracles are confusing to people because they do not occur in the space-time trajectory of the finite universe. Therefore, they are deemed acts of God that cannot be explained. The problem with deeming it an act of God is that it implies that God has made a decision to apply this so-called miracle at a certain coordinate in time and space. This immediately brings up the question of worthiness. We have already discussed human beings' penchant for guilt. So this erroneous perspective that God somehow made a temporary decision to bring relief to one person under one circumstance only makes people less predisposed to more and greater miracles as they proceed to remember all the ways in which they believe themselves to be unworthy of these benevolent acts of God. This perspective then proceeds to induce fear and only makes things worse in the long run. So how indeed did Yeshua overcome all of this fear and produce dramatic healings in spite of it? Well, it was actually quite simple. It has something to do with something called resonance. The most important thing to know is that Yeshua is absolutely clear that this finite world is merely a dramatic illusion. He absolutely knew the truth that God is everywhere. He knew that truth, and he indeed was and is that truth. There was no separation. All he had to do was look at somebody and see that truth before him. Because his knowing, seeing, and literally being that truth was so powerful, his resonating field of consciousness and energy was so strong that this finite illusion of pain, suffering, and likewise literally couldn't exist in his presence. He actually demonstrated on planet Earth the very real fact that these things are illusions that don't exist. So how is that for a tremendous service? The crucifixion is another matter altogether. That incident is so gravely misunderstood that we will save that topic for another occasion. Don't you find it interesting that the religions of the world have chosen to completely fixate on the so-called death of the Christ as their central point of worship? If you don't believe this, you have only to observe the central symbol of Christianity, which is the cross or the crucifix, the instrument of death. That's what we need to focus on, right? That resurrection stuff is just an afterthought. Very peculiar indeed. But this should provoke some deep contemplation on your part if you care to entertain this extremely bizarre fact. So let us get back to the subject of the appearance of wings on angels. Because you currently reside in a finite dimension, your mind is wholly calibrated to finite interpretation. As I said earlier, angels do not reside in the finite. Your finite mind does not have a way to process this, but it applies wings to its interpretation in order to signify that angels are of a higher caliber of consciousness and energy than the lowly earth-based perception. This does not mean that angel wings are bad. On the contrary, they are quite beautiful because of what they signify. A recognition that there is something more than this finite world of things. In fact, there are many people who believe in angels who will readily admit that angels don't really have wings. But humanity loves to see these wings because they bring comfort, hope, and peace to those who observe them. So as long as you may need them, let them remain. So what are angels? Simply put, angels are beings of love and light. They exist as messengers of God in the infinite. This means that they can bring forth that reality toward human beings and all who dwell upon this earth whenever they are needed. Angels are the living proof that you are not alone. Angels are what we call agents of evolution. In order to understand what that means, we must first define evolution. For purposes of this discussion, let us define evolution in a more profound way than merely assuming it is related to any species acquiring a better ability to cope with living in the finite. Evolution, as we will define it, refers to waking up from the dream. It means a return to a state of sanity, where there exists truth and only truth. The lie of I am not ceases to exist. All there is God, truth, and infinite love. Indeed, that is all there is right now. The problem is that you don't experience it. Why? Because of the physics produced by the quandary of I am not. Those physics produce for you a world of good/bad, right/wrong, justified/unjustified, and hate/love. If you wonder how this is possible, you have only to observe how much you can create with the simple 0-1 interface. Angels exist as the potential interface between you and your real world of knowing. We are bringing up the subject of angels here because we would like to offer you an opportunity to expand your understanding of what is possible with their assistance. We would like to provide you with an opportunity to deepen your relationship with them. Now, some people don't believe that they have any relationship with angels, and here too the unworthiness factor tends to get in the way. But angels are your communication link with the divine. This can take many forms. It can come in the form of true inspiration, where creative ideas and solutions can be offered to you in the form of a brilliant idea that suddenly occurs in your mind. Angels can influence circumstances in your favor. When doing so will bring you closer to God and greater experiences of love and success, when that success is beneficial to you and others in your life. They can offer you comfort and security when you might feel hopeless and afraid. They continually remind you that love is the only reality. Why is this important? Because living in this finite kingdom of life can easily cause you to forget all these things. The love of the divine reaches out to you at all times in the comforting form of angels to remind you and help you stay connected to that which is the only true reality, love and the infinite. Now, because of all the filtering that goes on in this finite kingdom in which you currently reside, by the time the presence of angels passes through these multiple filters in your perception, they appear to you as exceedingly etheric. This is not an actual or accurate sensory perception of the true magnitude of their power and beauty, but by the time they have passed through all of your filters, they either can't be seen at all, or what can be seen is rather wispy in nature. This should never be construed as any sort of limited fact about their existence. Angels in truth are not etheric at all. In fact, it is actually you who is etheric. Now, this will surely be a blow to your perceived idea about yourselves. Allow me to enlighten you about a few things. Just because you are unable to pass your hand through a brick wall does not necessarily mean that you are solid and therefore more real than your etheric perceptions of the universe and specifically angels. This appearance of your finite world being solid is the result of the physics produced by the I am not principle, where everything in the finite clashes with everything else. You know it as this thing. You know it as things being known by what they are not, rather than by what they are. You kind of know yourself that way, don't you? Start with the unfortunate experience of I am not God. If a tree exists in the finite as I am not the car, then when the moving car reaches the car and the tree will quickly let each other know that they are definitely not one another. You will know this for sure by the damage and destruction that they will thereby do to each other. Everything in the finite is threatened by everything else, and that is a simple way to explain the physics of why you cannot put your hand through a wall without some real damage occurring. For any scientists out there who find this description to be wholly inadequate, I simply say, lighten up. Your language is the real inadequacy here. It in no way accounts for that which you cannot understand, see, or experience. Let us now discuss why angels can be so important to you now. Your world is currently spiraling into a state of greater and greater chaos. All of your previous belief systems are going to be more and more challenged. It will become increasingly difficult to maintain a sense of peace, serenity, and balance. Yet these things are absolutely necessary if you are to retain any sense of clarity at all. Thus, angels are always here to help you find your way if you should humbly ask for their assistance. It should also be known that angels are always present to help and support all life while the universe slowly rights itself from this grand illusion and truth is restored throughout. It is not necessary to see or know of angels on a conscious level in order to receive their assistance. Many times they are helping you when you are not aware of it at all. Angels will always respond to a sincere heart. They always respond to love. They are beautiful companions in the cosmos who are unlimited in their ability to assist you, love you, and support you in finding your way back to your true home. They will help you through all of life's transitions in this finite experience, to be sure. They even assist you and accompany you and all of your loved ones at your multiple times of physical departure as you continue to wend your way through many lifetimes in the grand illusion produced in this finite universe. But we want you to know that you are now at a juncture that requires more. It is no longer enough for you to merely expect your beautiful angelic friends to help you to cope with this finite experience, for all the reasons expressed in the previous chapter. We ask you, for the sake of yourselves, to consider opening the doors of your perception wider and to be exceedingly true to your hearts. Allow the angels to help you to learn to be uncompromising in your allegiance to your own heart. Your heart will light the way. Your angels will hold your hand and guide you. All you have to do is ask. Okay, so that completes chapter 14. Archangel Michael explaining to us a little bit more about the angels. And there were a few things that I was already aware of. One thing I really like to share with people, because I was not aware of this for many years, is that you have to ask the angels for help. Because of free will, they can only help to a certain extent. There is a line. But if you ask them to intercede in your life, whatever area of your life or all areas of your life, you can do that. I know that I often, anytime I think about it, I ask my angels, my guides, my ancestor guides, my guardian angels to assist me in any and all areas of my life that they see fit, for my greatest and highest good. So I'm confident that they do so constantly. And I'm pretty sure I know they do for you as well, whether you're aware of it or not. But just be conscious about asking for that extra help. They will help with anything and everything. There's no problem too small or too large. They're ever waiting for you. They are not above us as far as who is more important. We are all souls connected. We happen to be in bodies. They are not. But they do have those special connection to the divine. That is one of our lifelines, one of our telephones to the divine, where we can always reach out and have that loving support, that love that is not even felt here on earth, that we could never understand. You are loved more than you will ever know. You are here for a reason. You are supported by your angels and guides, as well as the universe. You are never alone. You are never without love, and always remember that. So on that note, thank you so much for joining me. On the next video, we will read chapter 15, and it looks like we're going to be talking to the ego and talking about the ego once again. That seems to be very important to the author and Archangel Michael. I suppose it is, since it plays such a large part in our lives, and perhaps should not. So until next time, have a wonderful, beautiful day or night. Take care of yourself and each other. Please like, comment, subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.